Hi, my name is Melissa, but my friends call me Feldy, and today I'm going to demo how we could take a vase or vessel that we threw on the pottery wheel, take a photo of it, bring it into the 3D modeling software, and then create a replica 3D model. That 3D model can then be used to iterate through different scales and proportions, or even be used to make a mold design for reproduction. Let's get started. This is what my software workspace looks like. So you'll notice that I have a top view, a front view, a perspective view, and a right view. You'll also notice that on the left and on the top, there's lots of icons. Those offer some functions within the 3D modeling space, but there's also this area up here where I could start typing things into. And that's another way to pull up different functionality. So the first thing we need to do is bring in our photo of the pot. So I could just do that by typing in picture and finding the photo wherever it exists on my desktop. And it's going to want me to select which view I place this photo in. So I'm going to select the front view because I want to work from the front. So now we have our photo. And what's neat is I can select it and we see it from the front and we see it from the perspective. But from the top and the right, you'll notice it's just a line. And if I let go of that, you can't see it at all. That's because this photo doesn't take up any physical space, right? So what we need to do is take this concept and bring it into a form. So the first step I'm going to take is I'm going to create a line. And this line is just going to provide a reference for height for my pot. And it's also going to provide a hole which with the pot can revolve around, almost like on the pottery wheel. So over here on the left, I can just grab this polyline icon. And on the front view, I'm just going to click right at the base there. And I'm working in millimeters. So if I want my pot to be around 6 inches high, that would be approximately 150 millimeters. And making sure I'm in my front view, I can line that up perfectly straight. And now I have this line offering a reference to height. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my image and I'm just going to line it up along the center of that line. And I'm going to use that to scale my image down, trying to get the height of the pot lined up to the height of that line. And this doesn't have to be super precise, but if I do want it to be 6 inches tall, I'll want it to match that. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. The next step is basically to trace the silhouette of this curve going all the way down the pot. So this software has a really nice tool to do that. It's just called Curve right here. And the real trick here is to just click really frequently along this curve, right? If I just, click here and here and here, it's going to lose its authenticity to that original line. So I'm just going to make sure I'm really following along. And every time I click down, I want the line to match up with the edge. And we can just speed along this process real quick here. Okay, great. Now I want to check my curve to make sure it looks exactly how I want it to. So I could just turn off that image and look at the curve, and she is really beautiful. But we are missing a base here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab this polyline and go from the bottom of the pot silhouette over to that pole that we have in the center there. All right, we're starting to look like we have the silhouette of a pot. I do have one issue though. My pottery is never going to have quite a sharp angle like this, so I want to soften that up. The best way to do that is to type fillet into this form field over here, and we can select either side of that corner, and it'll just kind of curve it up, which is really nice. Beautiful. Now it's time to take this curve and literally revolve it around the center pole, all exactly like we would do on a wheel. So I could type revolve right in here and it'll say select curves to revolve. So I'll select my curve and hit enter. And then it's asking for the axis to revolve around. So that's the pole that we drew. So I'm just going to use that, hit enter. And if we put this into shaded, you could see we now have our vessel. What's really neat from here is that I could take this and I can make a copy, and suddenly I can start to play around with this overall shape. In just a few seconds, you could see how many different iterations we can go through once we have that initial model.